Cash and the ticket is yours. Cash and the ticket is yours. Yo. Cash and the ticket is yours. Cash and the ticket is yours. Cash and the ticket is yours. Yo. Cash and the ticket is yours.
here, you get an insight and you know something, but you don't want to say it out loud because you're kind of afraid that it's not going to be really true and it'll spoil the whole thing for you, But when somebody makes you say it, then, and it's true, then it just makes it more beautiful of a thing.
CGL.
This is just an absolute treat. These players are so damn good.
The talent on these teams is undeniable. Everybody on every team right now is making plays.
It's going to be an exciting start to the season, and it'll just get better from here on out.
We're about to step to a whole new era of Overwatch esports. So much exciting action is happening here on CGL that you do not want to miss. Look who's starting it all off. It's Raven.
No one necessarily figure out what is the right way to go just yet.
What a nice roll through from me. Just gonna solidify everything within those.
Does come back, and Arsario gets the mech, but I don't need a mech. I'll kill 4 anyway.
This is just a highlight reel for Arsario right now.
They're making a statement in the EU Masters here.
This patch is still incredibly fresh. There's so much to learn, so much to change about the way we play the game.
NKC, but the shatter is colossal.
Let's get it going.
Trades keep coming through. Lores, you're gonna be able to find these shots true.
Idu on the overclock with 2.
Here comes an Anvil immediately goes back like fine skills, slicing and dicing their way through 2, 3, so back and forth.
My post-EU slumber has concluded, and we are here for an NA Open match, one of the first here in the playoffs of Season 17 for NA Open. Hello, once again, everybody, for the second time today. My name is Getster, but joining me this time is a different yet still familiar face in Shadowfang. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing really good tonight, honestly. Looking forward to seeing what the Open tier looks like here in this match today to start the playoffs. You know, I was just telling you before we got on, I feel like I haven't really casted that much Open tier this season, so, you know, I'm real excited to see what these two teams have to offer us.
I'm pretty sure I have only casted one Open tier matchup this entire season, at least in North America, because technically I did one earlier today for EU, but this will be my second. I think, if I'm counting correctly, but it's going to be between, as you can see at the bottom of the screen, Subsun and Diamonds. We are, as I said, in the round 1 of playoffs here. The winner of this one is going to be going up against Iliad Artemis, one of the scariest teams in NA Open, if I do say so myself. Already having sent Vicious Unforgiven down to losers in a 3-0 fashion earlier this week. So, going to be a brutal road for Vicious, but hey, one of these teams is going to have to face off against them in losers round 1.
Yeah, so we actually know both matchups, essentially. So loser going to go down, play that Vicious team. Winner going to go on, play Iliad Artemis. And, I mean, you know, it's worth mentioning Subsun has beaten Diamonds 2 times this season. Once in the mid-season tournament and once in Week 8, both in 3-1 fashions. So, you know, Diamonds trying to show that the third time is the charm for them. They're going to, like, try and flip it around on Subsun this time.
Yeah, definitely hoping to make a difference here. And, you know what's not going to be different? We're starting on Lijiang Tower. I feel like this is just kind of an inevitability of the universe at this point. Death, taxes, and we're starting on Lijiang.
You know, it's a weird thing, because yesterday, the match I casted with Philly last night, we started on Nepal, and I was really surprised by that. I was very surprised by that. I couldn't believe that it happened. We did Nepal and Atlas. I couldn't believe it. Like,
wow!
It was really strange. And then and then we did Numbani.
Dude,
Nepal,
what?
Atlas, and Numbani. Like, we didn't hit any of the 3 core maps. It was a very odd series.
I got to cast a new Queen Street earlier today. That was crazy, dude. It's wild. Maybe we get to see some unconventional, less common maps later in the series here, but I mean, we are starting with the standard Lijiang Tower. Subsun are going to be the first team to ban here as well. And I'm very curious because the first ban of the series is always a very telling one. It really gets the momentum going as to, like, what we can expect to see throughout the entire series. Like, what do they really not want to play against? And it seems like Subsun, right off the bat, they see fit to get rid of that Lucio.
Which I find fascinating, because if I'm recalling correctly, M21 really likes to play that Junker Queen style composition. So I'm surprised that is the tank player for Subsun. We'll go into that when we see the rosters in a moment. But I'm very surprised because they tend to really err towards those Junker Queen style compositions. So I don't know, it's a very surprising ban for me. Diamond's now going to go for their ban, and I don't know if you potentially ban out that Queen already, or you just save it for later and you go with something that you just don't want to really deal with. I don't know, map 1 really feels like a lot of times it's just, what hero do we not want to deal with? And it looks like it's going to be that Reaper.
Yeah, I was going to say, surely the Queen does not get banned early, and especially because Lucio is also off the board here, so maybe you expect it to be a slightly weaker composition going into this first map. But anyway you slice it, these are going to be the 2 heroes off the board right off the bat. Not entirely shocked to see the Reaper ban either. I mean, earlier in the EU match earlier today, we did see a little bit of Reaper on Lijiang Tower, so not a wholly surprising ban coming out from the Diamonds here. But I believe next up we do have a quick look at the rosters of both of these teams, and they are kind of stacked. We are in the open tier, so typically where we see the highest level of gameplay, especially in the playoffs here, Maple, Ruby, M21 Spring, and Paddock are going to be your Subsun lineup here. And that Ruby player, that one who's showing the on-run, I doubt we see the on-run today, but I do fully expect that we're going to be seeing some highlight plays come out from that player. Ruby is absolutely cracked.
I can tell you right now, too, the last time I casted Subsun, Pataco actually really enjoyed running that Jetpack Cat quite a bit.
Oh!
So there is potential that we do that as well. We had Jetpack Cat kind of escorting M21 around the map on that Junker Queen, just dropping them on top of people, essentially, and you just had the carnage going off. So it is actually going to be very impactful. I think that Maple won't have that Reaper available to keep up with that, that pace of a composition.
There are other heroes available to keep up a very fast pace here, but let's, in the meantime, take a look at the Diamonds starting lineup here. We got Jet and Pepper on DPS, MO4 on tank, Ruthless and Jamin on support line. So obviously a breadth of heroes that we're seeing here in just the initial screen here. But I mean, that Vendetta pick that I'm seeing a lot of people say that Vendetta has finally been silenced with this most recent patch. But if I'm being entirely real, I think that character's still pretty good.
You can definitely make it work. There's just I think Vendetta has come down to the pack essentially, right? Where it's not just Vendetta is an overpowering force anymore. You can still run it for sure, but I think you can get more value out of like a Tracer with a hit scan as opposed to running the Vendetta with the hit scan now. You know, that's where I think the difference has happened essentially.
Yeah. Most certainly here. Very, very excited to get into this first map of our best of 5 series. Hopefully, we get to go the distance here. It is, as you said earlier, though, Subsun historically has had the edge over Diamonds, currently with a match count of 2-0 over the Diamonds and a map count of 6-2. So, Diamonds, they're going to have to win more maps in this series than they have in the whole season against Subsun if they want to take this series and move on in the winner's bracket. Otherwise, they got to date down in losers.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right about that. And, you know, it is certainly asking a lot, but at this point, you got to be pretty familiar with each other, right? Like, you shouldn't really be catching each other off guard in a sense. And maybe if Diamonds did a lot of preparing in the last 2 weeks, because, you know, they had a good bit of time to prep for this, I would say. So if you can prepare something to try and deal with the issues you're having, and I think that Reaper ban to start with is like a really good idea of how to like try and hamper the compositions that Subsun really likes to play.
For sure, especially without explicitly banning out the Junker Queen that you know M21 is so good at playing. Getting into this one relatively quickly here. Oh, looks like we're going in right now. I didn't know if that was going to be cutting back to us, our gorgeous faces, or the map itself, but we are going into Lijiang. Looks like we're going to be starting out on the night market. And I mean, this is an interesting one for sure. I think that this is one of those points where you can really get away with a lot of different heroes, but both of these teams seem to be showing the Cassidy right now. Not a huge shock, all things considered.
No, especially with how close range this map is, it makes perfect sense. And especially if you're Subsun, that's going to help in trying to hamper this ball comp just a little bit. It gives you a second to try and blow up this wrecking ball as much as possible. I'm almost wondering if Ruby's going to go Tracer just based on the fact that, no, Ruby is going to be on that cast still, even with the TP.
Yep, TP forward just to give your team a little bit of an edge in terms of positioning and getting closer to the point here, which, I mean, they have to an extent, but what a ridiculous early pick from M21. Ruthless and Pepper already out of the equation here, and, I mean, that's just an immediate fight loss for Diamonds. You kind of just have to cut your losses, allow the first capture to go the way of Subsun, and wait until your players get back.
Yeah, there's not much you can do, right? The thing that Subsun is so good at is just being incredibly aggressive and just timing their cooldowns. I mean, look, Patico just doing the most on that cat, but Jamin said, I'm going to get a cat diff on you real quick and get to that kill on the Patico.
We cat fighting out here right off the bat. This is what you love to see. But even though that pick does go through for Diamonds, it's still not enough to really break them onto the point, especially since Ruby manages to find the pick onto Pepper so quickly at the beginning of the next fight. And this Bastion is just outpouring so much damage onto the side of the Diamonds. Even though Patico goes down once again, this should still be a pretty stable position for Subsun to be in. I mean, they've got the Queen just fearlessly standing in the middle of the open and not being taken down.
Yeah, absolutely. M21 just always seems to be at full HP some way, somehow. And I mean, look at these cats just going at it right now. I don't know how in the world Patico is managing to stay alive for so long with so much focus going on to them. MO4 has fallen off the map. And there you go, Patico taking down Jet, and Jet technically taking down Patico.
I mean, technically, if we're going by the kill feed here, but it sure doesn't feel like a favorable trade for that Wrecking Ball. I mean, losing out on your tank if your diamonds is so rough going into this one, but eventually does come back to the point with the minefield in tow here, and you're gonna see as the Junker Queen attempts to get dragged through the mines by the Jetpack Cat, but M21 is able to land the shot and get that pick. A potential environmental is ruined by the fact that Kiriko can teleport. But Maple still goes down. Jet putting in work on this Wrecking Ball, finding a second pick as well. The flip does, in the middle of all that, come through. But it's only 12% as it stands here. And Subsun already looking decent in terms of flipping it back. M21 seeing fit to use that Rampage. And the point does get flipped. Only 19% for Diamonds. They're only going to have one more opportunity to get in on this one, but they have a couple of tools to potentially do it, and that's a great start. With Patico going down, you do need to be able to find more picks than that. But yeah, Ruby going off the map, that should just do it. They'll get to 99, but Subsun surely cannot hold on for much longer.
I don't know. We'll see. Maple's got this turret going right now. Does manage to get the 1 kill. M21 looking for some shots as well. And the Junker Queen probably going to want to just die as fast as possible, or not. I don't understand what's happening right now. I got to be real with you.
All right, so the cat manages to get above and keep this queen alive for at least some stretch of time, but eventually the pick rolls through anyway, and the blade is going to be disastrous for Subsun. Pepper putting in so much damage, only finding the one final blow in the kill feed, but that Genji ultimate so important in that fight.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially because, like, now you're in a situation where you've got all the other ults available if you're Diamonds, right? And Subsun, all you've got available to you is a Deadeye, and that Catnap is going to come online shortly. You might be able to do something with that. You might not be able to. We're going to have to see how that potentially goes. And Maple has just died, and Pepper has deflected the Deadeye onto Ruby.
Oh! Beautiful stuff. The world is healing right now. Genji Tracer in 2026 is putting in work for the side of the Diamonds. And a late pick onto M21 is potentially massive, though it does get the same respawn wave as that Jetpack Cat. Ruby over to the Tracer in an attempt to maybe get back and recontest this one. And Maple onto the Venture for a very similar purpose. 88 in building now for the Diamonds. 3 ultimates to work with, and that could be exactly what they need, especially with the Kitsune Rush going out that quickly. Spring, not even close to one of their own, and M21 goes down super early, 98% to that Rampage. If they can get back into this fight and utilize it, it could be absolutely massive for their momentum, but the real question is, can they get back? Patico gets taken out of the picture, Maple next to fall, and the Diamonds look very solid in terms of potentially taking this one away. Ruby gets one back onto Jamin, but won't be able to last much longer. Pepper, the final casualty of the round, but it will not matter. The Diamonds will take our night market.
And I mean, you said it the moment it happened, right? That blade fight, I think, proved to be very important. Getting the deflect kill on the Deadeye, following it up with the blade and not having to expend anything else, and then you essentially, those 4 ultimates that they had, just won them the rest of the fights that kept happening on that point. You know, the early kills just were continuing to come through time and time again. It really felt like once Diamonds got control of that point, they were unwilling to give it up under any circumstance.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the other crucial moments of that map, they flipped it for only 19% at one point, but that 19% ended up mattering, I think, a lot more than anybody really could have expected. Just allowing them to stay in that for a little tiny bit longer, and it was enough to get them over the line here. But we move on now to Gardens, where Ruby is the first to fall right off the bat! Jamin on the Cat able to get that pick so quickly, and now Subsun doesn't have nearly as much point pressure. And Diamonds should just be able to take away the first capture here, I should say. But Spring finding a pick onto MO4. So that is a decent start for Diamonds, but they have lost out on their Tracer. Real question now, Subsun, can they get in, take this fight, and re-flip it? It looks like they have the point presence for it, and they very nearly flip it, but Ruby might have just sealed the deal with a pick onto Ruthless. A couple more players go down. Subsun, they flip it after only giving up 16%.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, great job there from Subsun to just not fully give up that fight, right? They knew to just stay alive a little bit longer, and they would be able to eventually take that point. I like the idea of swapping over to the Brig as well, just having a little bit more survivability for your team. I think it's going to be tough now to deal with the Jetpack Cat, generally speaking, but you do have Ruby that could throw some damage in, and you've already got your Kitsune Rush online.
Kitsune Rush online. Paddock goes down! That's so fast! The Kitsune Rush goes out for Spring, but it simply won't matter. The teammates falling around the Kiriko. And that should just be an easy flip for the Diamonds. Pepper gets the duplicate onto the Junker Queen and a very, very effective rampage of his own. And just like that, 42% gain for Subsun, but that is a relatively quick flip, all things considered.
Yeah, that's incredibly unfortunate to just not really get that value out of that Kitsune Rush. You were outpacing Ruthless by like 50% there, and you just weren't able to really cash in on that. Unfortunately, the Catnap is coming through and does catch on to M21, and Patico took so much damage, they just kind of died in that process as well. So that is another fight that's going the way of Diamonds.
Yeah, and another fight where, crucially, they only had to use the one ultimate. I mean, we've been talking about this the whole time, but Pepper previously only having to use the Blade to win that crucial fight. And now Jamin, the only ultimate necessary was that Catnap, and now they're safe to go in on this next one. Jet using that minefield to try and push out and get a little bit of an aggressive pick here. Spring goes down. Maple as well. So really, really great start for the Diamonds in this fight, and I mean, surely this cannot be turned around on them, but Jet very nearly goes down in that instance. Does get the pick back onto Ruby, so all things considered, they should be fine. M21 finds a pick onto MO4's Tracer, and Jet's eventually punished for his hubris. The ball will not last forever, and this cat will just have to watch from a distance as the point is potentially flipped.
It is appearing that it may go that way. Pepper going to get the copy onto the Queen. Already 50% to that Rampage. This one slash may be enough to do it. 95%, and here comes the Rampage through from Pepper. Three
players that connected onto, but the rally out from Patico potentially enough to keep Subsun alive in this fight, and in fact it will be. Jet and MO4 going down thanks to some heroics from M21. M21 with a triple, by the way, onto 3 players. Jet, Pepper, MO4 all fall to the Queen. And that is a beautiful fight there from Subsun off the back of just the Kitsune Rush, and I mean, no, there were 3 ultimates used in that fight, but still, I mean, very impressive stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And Diamonds coming in, they're going to have the Catnap and the mines available. I can't believe that just worked. That is certainly one way to start a fight. All right, that's it. Fight's over, everybody. Diamonds have taken that
Map's
one.
Done. Map's done. Maple's the only player left standing for Subsun on the point here. They're going to do their best to stall this one out for as long as possible, and Venture is quite good at that, but with the mines on the point, with nobody nearby to re-trigger overtime, Patico goes down. I'm not sure Ruby's close enough to get this one going again, and they will not be able to. Diamonds already taking their first map of the series. Are we seeing a flip of the script?
I mean, it's very possible the way we saw Diamonds play on that map. I think it's going to be a lot harder to get that Wrecking Ball composition to work on other maps, but, hey, you know, crazier things have happened, right? You know, like I said, third time's the charm, maybe. You know, that could be the case here tonight.
Potentially the case for sure here. It does look like we had one of our players have a little bit of a frame rate issue during that map, so hopefully a PC restart will help them out with that one. So we might take a little while to get into our second map here. But in the meantime, we have a lot to talk about there, because I think that Subsun had moments where they really looked competitive in that map. I think a 2-0 is somewhat misleading, all things considered. But, I mean, Diamonds, they just come out clutch when it matters the most.
Yeah, they did time and time again. They just kept getting those early kills, like, over and over again on control. I am going to point this out just because it did happen. But Diamonds also won the control map in their match 2 weeks ago. So that did happen in week 8. In week 8, Diamonds did win the matchup on, it was on Elios, obviously, but, you know, still a control map, so still same sort of concept. So I would expect that Subsun will have a overall much better performance going into the next map, and I think they're gonna probably pick a map that just way favors their comp, which we do have a lot of options for that.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you want to play a map where you feel like Junker Queen is the very obvious choice, or at least one of the maps where she feels the best, I mean, we could go to something like a Suravasa here. That would not shock me in the slightest, considering how flat that map is. I mean, I've seen everyone here, if you're watching this stream, you've probably seen that one clip of Ruby playing Widowmaker on Junkertown, so any of those maps where you can get away with like one of those Widowmaker compositions, I think you're pretty comfortable if you're Subsun potentially. So maybe we see a Junkertown, maybe we see like a Havana, maybe we see the Suravasa that I mentioned earlier. Any way you slice it, I think Subsun has a lot of options here, and Diamonds has to play really careful from here on out, because like you said, this has happened before. They have taken a control map against Subsun and still dropped the series.
Yeah, I think too, Maple being able to play the Reaper again is going to be a very, very impactful, because that a lot of the way Subsun plays is they just run really hard at you with a Reaper and a Queen, and you just kind of have to deal with the pure amount of damage that is going into somebody. And they tried to do that with the Bastion. That's why I think that first map was a little more successful. They were trying to do like the same sort of concept with that Bastion, and they just couldn't get that similar concept going once they tried to do the Venture. It takes a lot more precision with that composition, as opposed to when you're running the Reaper style comp. It's just, we're going to run you over as fast as we possibly can.
Yeah, most certainly. Reaper, one of those characters who is extremely good at just enabling those compositions where you just run at them. You just run them down and kill them as quickly as possible. And there are obviously other heroes that can do that. I mean, we saw attempts at the Venture, at the Bastion, like you were talking about, but none of them do it quite as well as Reaper does. For as power crept as he has been over the years, he does still have his niche, and that is definitely it. And I think that was an extremely impactful ban from the Diamonds. I think that it worked really well in their favor, all things considered. If Reaper had been on the board, I can definitely see that going the way of Subsun.
Yeah, definitely. So, with that being said, Subsun, it's going to be their map pick. They need to pick something that's going to be very beneficial to them. Based on the fact that they chose Lijiang Tower, I am leaning towards the fact that they're also going to pick King's Row, because that seems to be the type of series that this might end up being. We're gonna hit all the core maps, right?
All the usual stops.
You know what I'm saying? Like we're gonna go down the typical route.
What's the most typical payload map?
Honestly, it's Gibraltar, which isn't an option.
That's true. That's not in the pool right now.
So we can't do that. Or Circuit, which also is not an option, so we can't do that either.
The fact that Circuit has gone from like one of the community's most hated payload maps to now one of the standard ones that a lot of teams pick is really, really kind of crazy to me, because I never quite grew out of my I don't like Circuit phase. But interestingly enough, we don't go to Suravasa. The flashpoint of choice for Subsun will be New Junk City.
Yeah, I think this is to save the ball ban. That's what I think.
Okay.
Because I think it's significantly harder to play Wrecking Ball on this map than it is to play Wrecking Ball on Suravasa, whereas you could play Queen on either one to about the same level of efficiency. Right. So that's my guess as to why you pick a New Junk City here, because again, there's a lot harder grapple angles on this map, and so it allows you to use the ball ban on a map where ball might actually get more playtime and be more favorable.
Yep, I can absolutely see that being the case here. New Junk City, another one of those maps that it was one of the two Flashpoint maps that released when the mode initially came out. It was Flashpoint. It was New Junk City and Suravasa at the time, both pre-rework. Both were great pre-rework, by the way. Y'all were just cowards. But going into this one, I am very curious to see what the bans are going to be here. I mean, it's as you say, Subsun probably not going to be expending that Wrecking Ball ban here. Instead, it will be the Zarya, and I do like this because not only, like you say, does it protect the Wrecking Ball, not protect the Wrecking Ball, save the Wrecking Ball ban for later, it protects your Junker Queen.
Yeah, I think it's a really smart ban because Zarya is a hero you don't really want to see if you're Queen, right? Like, you don't want to see Zarya. You're not really too interested in seeing an Orisa either, generally speaking. So it's good to get rid of one of those heroes, and you get rid of the possibility of having that Vendetta getting bubbled into your backline, or having a Reaper getting bubbled, and then your Reaper's losing out in that exchange because of the bubble. So I really like that pick, generally speaking. I am not exactly sure where in the world Diamonds is going to go, though, because it didn't feel like much was really threatening them on that last map.
I mean, it really could be anywhere at this point. I mean, some of the hit scans could potentially be off the board here. I mean, Cassidy, this is another one of those maps where I think Cassidy kind of rules the game. So I don't expect to see a ban onto something like an Emery or even a Sojourn potentially here. But maybe we see a ban onto like the... I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Diamonds immediately go to banning Lucio themselves, potentially. Obviously not available for Subsun anymore, but still on the board for the Diamonds.
That could very well be an option. You could ban Brig. We saw Patico play that a little bit. Maybe you don't want to deal with Brig again. As far as DPSs go, it seems like you're going to play like the Cass, right? And you did fine on it, so why ban it? You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of where I'm stuck at right now. A lot of this feels like it shouldn't be there's nothing here, like I said, that really threatened Diamonds on last map that feels like we should definitely ban this right now.
Yeah. Honestly, it kind of feels like a situation where you're less thinking about the map previous and more thinking about the previous matches. Obviously on an older balance patch here, but thinking back to the previous games where you potentially went to Flashpoint in those and thinking what went wrong in those. Obviously, going into this, Diamonds very likely to have studied the tapes in their 2 previous matches against Subsun. And their ban is going to be the Brigitte, so they are going in the direction of a support ban. Brig is an interesting one because, I mean, do you think we're likely to just see the Lucio Curie backline for both teams at this point?
I mean, that's my guess, but I mean, when I was just rambling there for a minute, I was like, what in the world can we ban that we weren't playing, that the other side was playing? And the only hero I could come up with was Brigitte. That's the only hero I could come up with. And I bet Diamonds did the exact same thing, like talking to each other. They're like, what did they play that we didn't play, that we were threatened by? I don't know. They want to fight off a rally. Let's do that. Yeah, Brig. Get rid of Brig.
Sure, we can get rid of Brig, and I mean, if nothing else, then that allows Diamonds to play pretty aggressively with heroes like the Tracer that are probably going to be on the board, potentially like the Vendetta that we're admittedly less likely to see now that Zarya's not on the board, but definitely going to be on the board is Reaper. So Reaper kind of eats Brig alive sometimes, but occasionally she can do pretty well into that character thanks to the whip shot.
Yeah, especially with that extra, what was it, shield health I believe Brig has now. You can live that matchup a little bit better. Again, the shield bash just gets you so far away from Reaper, the whip shot, so on and so forth. But here we are. Got one substitution coming in there. You can see for Diamonds, Penguin Gamer going to be coming in. Makes perfect sense because, as you were saying, we expect to see the Kiriko Lucio most likely. So let's bring in our Lucio player for Jamin, who was playing that cat to some extremely good efficiency on last map.
Indeed, the Jetpack Cat was finding immense value here, but We are back to a map where Lucio is on the board, and as such, Lucio will likely be the character that will see significant playtime going into a map where mobility and rotations are as important as they are on New Junk City or Flashpoint in general. It makes sense that we are seeing both of these teams reverting to that classic Lucio Kiri backline that we've been seeing on and off since the beginning of Overwatch 2.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason for it, right? Kiriko can just do all this healing, has all the mobility. Kitsune Rush is an amazing ultimate. Jet being on the Hazard, though, I do find fascinating. Hazard is like a cool little mix between a dive and a brawl character almost. I'm going to be curious to see where you can really go on this composition that Subsun's playing.
I think Hazard is low-key pretty slept on here because it kind of allows you to play very aggressively into the backline here, trying so hard to punish Maple for a potential overextension, and the wall nearly helps him do that, but eventually Maple will escape, and it looks like Subsun, they have control over the point first, especially with Ruby finding an early pick onto the counterpart of MO4. Pepper, though, with a very well-placed railgun shot to punish that very, very telegraphed teleport from Maple. And with M21 going down here, you imagine that this snowballs pretty quickly into a flipped point in favor of Diamonds.
It does indeed. That was just, like you said, a little bit too predictable of a teleport from Maple. I say you can be very disrespectful on the Reaper character sometimes, but you can't be that disrespectful, right? Because all Pepper had to do was land a little bit of a shot and then a rail to the head, and it's just an instant death.
Indeed, but going into the next bit of this, already the percentage has passed for Diamonds, and M21 going down is not great for Subsun, but they do at least get a trade onto the tank. Unfortunately, there was a little bit of a boop away from the pulse bomb from Patico, so not going to find anything from that is Ruby, but with the pick onto Spring, I mean, it feels like Subsun just have to get out and take this final fight after a regroup.
And here we go, last fight territory. Pepper coming up on that overclock. The Kitsune Rush is available for Ruthless. Penguin getting close to the sound barrier. Diamonds has basically everything, and Subsun is not particularly close to any of their ults.
Not particularly. I mean, the closest they are at is 83% to a Kitsune Rush, but the real question is, do they even get there? The ultimates from Pepper and Jet are going to be so crucial in closing this one out, and it seems like they will be enough. Spring not going to utilize that lane. Ruby not going to last much longer in this fight, and the first point goes to Diamonds.
It does indeed. Diamond's doing a great job of just using that downpour and the overclock. Again, that's what we were seeing a lot last map. They were doing a good job of not just blowing all their ultimates at once. I imagine this fight, though, will be a fight where all the ultimates get blown at once because Subsun is going to be matching them almost across the board. And I just have a hard time believing we don't see about like 6 or 7 ultimates go off in this fight.
How many ults? Rampage now available for M21, but not going to have a chance to use it as Pepper going to melt down the Junker Queen before the opportunity is even there. No ultimates necessary in this fight, much unlike what we were expecting here, because Diamonds just win off the neutral fight.
Yeah, I mean, Diamond's doing a really good job of just kind of exploiting Subsun's composition, right? They weren't able to do that in their other matchups, but I mean, I only know this because I have worked with a coach who says Junker Queen is like a horrendous hero right now. So like it's hard to make this composition work, and you're kind of seeing why right now because it's just hard to keep this queen alive. And here come the ultimates, starting with that Kitsune.
Yep, and Jet very nearly goes down at the beginning of that fight, but the sound barrier is there in time to save the life of that Hazard. Unfortunately, no support available for Ruby, but 4 players hit by that Rampage is absolutely massive. The support line, Pepper and Jet, all hit with an anti-heal, and that could very well just spell a very quick flip here for the side of Subsun. But Penguin Gamer able to find a return frag onto Patico. If nothing else, that stalls out the fight a little bit longer for them, but I mean 78%, you are happy with that if you're Diamonds.
So like the thing I want to point out right now is double support ults were used for Diamonds, nothing else. Subsun used all 5 ultimates in that fight, right?
Mhm.
That's not good for you if you're Subsun.
Suboptimal.
Right? Like you flipped the point, but at what cost, right? Because now we're coming into this fight. The downpour is already coming out from Jet, but Jet has just gotten absolutely blitzed on that side of the map, and that is one reason why that split push can sometimes be to your detriment.
Yeah, definitely a little bit unfortunate to lose out in a fight like that, but a very good stagger onto Ruthless as well. I mean, the only ultimate expended in that fight was the downpour from the Hazard, and Diamonds can't get anything done off the back of that one, unfortunately. So now, Subsun at 87% and building, getting very, very close to taking this point away. MO4 likely to be the one who has to touch here to trigger overtime, but not going to be able to recall away as M21 hits a beautiful shot onto the dome. Ruby goes in, collects the pick onto Pepper, and this should just be a one fight. It's just Jet remaining on the point, and he is not long for this world. Subsun answer back with a point of their own.
I mean, that's just an unfortunate point for Diamonds. Like, that's the best way I can put it. That one split fight where Jet just gets killed so fast, you kind of played into Subsun's comp, essentially, right? You went into the small room with the Reaper and the Junker Queen, and you got ran at, right? Like, they had done so well at not doing that for the rest of this series so far, and then that one fight really just caused them to not be able to take that point, and they're back on the ball, and Pepper has just popped Overclock.
Yep, Overclock is out and active, but not going to find any connections. A couple body shots, but it's not enough to find final blows here as M21 and Ruby find the opening picks in this fight off the back of the one Kitsune Rush. The one ultimate expended from Subsun is plenty for them to get this point started ticking in their favor.
And I mean, again, Diamonds just seems to be like playing completely different just out of nowhere. Like, I don't even know how else to put it. Like, they're not playing the same way they were like 3 fights ago. They have just decided to stop playing as a unit and just kind of going in one at a time and dying. It's very odd, honestly.
I'm not the same man I was 5 minutes ago, they say, as they continually lose fights here. But the Kitsune Rush is out. If there was ever an ultimate that they could use to turn this one around, it is that. But it does eventually fade away without any picks on the side of Subsun. So they're still feeling pretty comfortable here. Patico also in the back. She has this sound barrier to utilize, and they're feeling pretty good about it. A whole lot of damage just being spammed in by this Lucio, but Maple is going to be the one to find the more important picks, even with Patico going down. It shouldn't matter that much. Subsun are past the 85% point. This is not even final fight territory. Diamonds, they're going to be lucky to have another touch here, but they do get it off the back of Jet, swinging in from the back like Spider-Man with a minefield on the point. There is a recontest here, and a Pharah for Pepper to get back on the point and attempts to retake this one. But a great beat from Patico in response. A much later, much better beat. And Maple and M21 are going to take out the first 2 players. And the dominoes continue to fall here. Jet, the last player remaining for Diamonds. And this Wrecking Ball, not going to last a whole lot longer.
I mean, all I can say is that Diamond's timing is just completely off, like out of nowhere. It's like they took all their watches off, right? Like, you know how they like synchronize watches in movies,
Synchronize your
so that
watches.
they make sure to do the same thing. It's like they all just desynchronized their watches in the middle of like 2 points ago. I don't know what in the world has changed, but they are just completely out of their rhythm now. And it could just be like Mike Tyson says, you know, you got to play until you get punched in the face. And that's kind of what this Subsun composition does. It just punches you in the face directly, as we see Maple get a kill with those dire triggers.
Wise words from Mike Tyson here, and Diamonds seem to be getting punched repeatedly here as MO4 goes down, and this should be another first capture for the side of Subsun. Nobody from Diamonds there to stop them at all, and Ruby lurking on the side, pulse bomb in hand, looking to potentially seal this fight up before it even begins, but the Suzu is there to ensure that the pulse bomb does not find a final blow. Unfortunately, the Rampage does go out, and Jet is going to fall victim to it. 1-for-1 trade, though, as Ruby goes down earlier in the fight. But, I mean, overall, that pretty heavily favors the side of Subsun, even though you do manage to take M21X out. Penguin Gamer going down hurts you a lot if you're Diamonds.
Oh, the Death
Oh
Blossom
my God.
coming out. All the spinning going on. Patico getting the final blow onto Pepper in that process.
No.
But just remember, Reaper still does a lot of damage, and we're just seeing that happen. Reaper from the front and Tracer from the back, and that was just a complete dominant fight win for Subsun.
Yeah, it was scrappy though, and it was not comfortable for the side of Subsun. And now, Diamonds, they have an opportunity to get in on this one and potentially force the fight very quickly. But with Jet falling so low, they are forced to utilize the sound barrier way earlier than you think they would have liked to. But Pepper finding an opening pick onto Maple is potentially massive. The flip should come through, and in fact it does for Diamonds here. But I mean, this fight's still not over. Ruthless forced to expend that Kitsune rush, and now a whole lot of players looking somewhat unhealthy, but Jet with a beautiful triple kill should seal this one up for Subsun. This gives the Diamonds a lot of hope here, but a lot rests on this pulse bomb from MO4.
Oh, yeah, it absolutely does. I mean, well, we saw it on the last point, right? I thought Subsun way over-ulted in a fight, but they managed to get an early kill in the next one. If MO4 can do that, we could see something very similar happen on this point and force out this 5th point on New Junk City.
More than likely, but out goes the pulse bomb. It connects onto Maple despite not sticking. It hit the floor and they trade 1 for 1. Spring manages though to find a pick onto Jet, and that is a very crucial pick indeed. The Junker Queen is just gonna run you down at this point, but the boop off the map, Kiriko will not survive Penguin Gamer with a very important kill there. M21X on this point, trying to force a flip, trying to force a little bit more point presence out of Diamonds, and MO4 is taken out as a result of that. The Rampage goes out and connects onto 2. Jet is out of the picture as a result, and Subsun, they've done it. They've taken away New Junk City. We are even. We've got a match on our hands.
Oh, yeah, we absolutely do. Subsun showing that, you know, Week 8 was not a fluke. We're just not very good at Control, right? We're good at all the other maps. Just let us play all the other maps. Let's just skip Control permanently. But as long as we can get to all our other maps, we got our Reaper available to us again, you know. It was going very well for them. I mean, we were just seeing Jet just constantly had so much pressure coming in from that Reaper. Couldn't really play the game that much, honestly. And,
yeah,
and that's just what we were seeing very much most of the time.
The other thing I wanted to point out, near the end of that map, obviously, when the scoreboard is brought up, there's not a lot of time to really analyze it, but there was one stat line that stood out to me. 26 and 6 coming out of Ruby's Tracer during that map. Subsun's DPS absolutely coming alive during that one, particularly with that Reaper in tow. And sometimes you see the Reaper versus Sojourn matchup and you think to yourself, okay, Reaper has a little bit of trouble closing the distance sometimes against Sojourn. Surely the Soj should be able to just, you know, get the necessary picks with the railguns, hit those long-range shots, and seal up the fight before it really even begins. But in this case, the Reaper works out marvelously after they lose that first point, and Subsun evens it up going into what is basically the halftime here.
Yeah, absolutely. And now if you're Diamonds, you're stuck in a tough spot because Maple no longer has to swap off of that Reaper. No matter what happens, Maple does not have to swap off of that Reaper for the rest of the series if Maple does not desire to swap off of the Reaper, so you're just going to have to deal with that.
Yeah, for sure. We're going to be going to a quick break before we continue the series. Don't go anywhere. Map 3 coming up next. A very, very quick first two maps, but unlike the series earlier today, we are looking at a 1-1 scoreline at the halftime. Hello, everybody. Once again, I am Gedster. Joining me is Shadowfang. It's Subsun. It's Diamonds. It's round 1 of winners playoffs here in NA Open for season 17. And yeah, we're gonna keep going here momentarily. I'm not sure where we're going. I assume from the background behind us that it's Dorado, but I don't know if that is the case for sure.
It very well could be. I think that would be a really smart pick, honestly. So let's see if it is. Yeah, it is going to be Dorado. I think that's an incredibly smart pick from the side of Diamonds. I personally would have went with like Numbani or something to just try and deny the King's Row. But I still think going to this map and just trying to play something where, again, it's the same sort of concept I was talking about before, right? You can save the Queen ban potentially for another map because, you know M21's probably still going to try and play it, but is it going to be as effective on a map like Dorado? That's yet to be seen.
For sure. While I stepped away very briefly during that break, I was thinking to myself that Diamonds still have a lot of maps on the table where Junker Queen is not going to be super effective against them. So it is definitely not over for them yet, despite the fact that we've seen a pattern similar to this before, where Diamonds take map 1 and Subsun wins out the rest of the series. That's been the case previously, yes, but Diamonds definitely not out of it yet with maps like Dorado, like Numbani, like potentially even I want to say that Esperanza is not amazing for Queen, like at least in comparison to some of the other things. And yes, the Diva ban comes out here. This is not a shock to me at all. That was the other thing I was thinking while I was away, that Diva being off the board here is genuinely massive for Diamonds.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's the biggest deterrent to a wrecking ball, generally speaking, is going to be that Diva pick. So just getting that off the table, even if it was going to be played, it's like, hey, yeah, let's remove this as a dive option. If you want to dive, you got to run Hazard, you got to run Wrecking Ball, you got to run Winston, right? And
give me Winston.
Subsun, I'm not super familiar with them doing that. And Subsun going to ban out that Echo. We did see a little bit of Echo get played from the side of Diamonds, so, that does make sense to me. Just get rid of a hero that they're going to play.
Yeah, this does still leave a whole lot of options available for the DPS lines on both sides, though. We did see some Tracer Genji come out from Subsun in the first map. No, from Diamonds in the first map, excuse me. And so I potentially expect to see that again come out from Diamonds. Tracer Genji, definitely one of those DPS lines that has been around for a very long time, predating Overwatch 2 even. If any of you viewers at home can remember back that far. I know it's been a long time, but
yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, we're old now, right? Because that was 10 years ago.
Don't say that.
That was the first release of Overwatch. Also, just gonna toss this little side note in. Jamin has come back in on support for the side of Diamonds, leading me to believe we could see some more cat shenanigans on this map. But I would definitely say we're not going to see the Lucio at the very least. Okay, starting off, we are going to see that cat, it looks like, and they are on defense, so this is real. This is a real composition right now from Diamonds.
I still can't believe Jetpack Cat is a real hero. Like, this was a Titan character concept that everybody was joking about for years, and then all of a sudden it's an actual character in Season 1 of 2026, so just a crazy timeline that we're living in here. But one of the other really, really fascinating picks here for Diamonds is MO4 on that Ashe. Not a hero you get to see nearly as much these days because, the prevalence of heroes like Emery, like Sojourn. Ashe has kind of been phased out in terms of prevalent hit scans, but MO4 rolling out Honor anyway.
Yeah, it's really, I think that... Lifesteal. Ruby has already killed MO4.
That's why.
I mean, my goodness, that's crazy.
That's why, for the record, because characters like Emery and Sojourn just output ridiculous damage and can take out characters with the health pool of an Ashe so ridiculously fast. So, already Subsun off to a great start here, finding picks onto MO4 and now Ruthless, but Ruby does get traded out. Pepper on this Tracer, not going to be going down quietly here.
And Maple just escorting this card on the Reaper, saying, hey, get near me if you want to. I have shotguns, though. As you can see right here, there you go. That's a 1-2 real quick, taking MO4 out of this fight. And that is what Maple does on this Reaper.
Yep, already at 72% of that Death Blossom, everybody. This is the power of Reaper when in the hands of someone well-practiced on the hero. So, not entirely shocking to be seeing Maple doing this well so far, but 1-for-1 trade now between Pepper and Ruby. One had to expend the ult, but the other only having to land a couple shots to the cranium. In the meantime, though, Patico goes down, so this could very well be a reset for Subsun, and it kind of looks like it will be.
Yeah, it does appear to be that way for sure. I mean, MO4 getting a lot of shots off right now. Maple already up to that Death Blossom, so you're going to want to definitely keep an eye out for that. And here comes the spinning of doom as Maple does not get anybody, but Jet does fall down eventually.
Yeah, Jet takes a lot of damage from the Blossom, but not enough to get the final blow. Eventually, someone does, and it is enough to keep the point presence off of that cart. 4.5 minutes now for Subsun to push through the second point.
And I mean, most of that first point was just Maple cart jockeying all the way up to the point and being like, I'm Reaper, you can't really be near me. And that is kind of just what happened for that entire push. And then you got Ruby off in the distance just landing shots, but Ruthless turning right around and showing you that Kiriko can do that high damage as well. I mean, my goodness, both of these teams have an obscene amount of ultimates available to them, so this feels like this next fight should be one where a lot of them pop off.
It should be pretty expensive fights for both of these teams. It is, as you say, the only player not really close is Jamin, and that's just because the Catnap was expended, and now we're seeing a swap onto the Ana here. Pressure goes out onto Spring, but manages to find a pick onto Pepper before being taken down themselves. It's a 1-for-1, and that's a big bio-nade onto Ruby and M21, but neither of them immediately going down. Instead, Jamin and Jet out of the picture. A massive bio-nade from the Ana just isn't enough to stop the momentum from Subsun. They keep Ruby and M21 alive, and this Junker Queen is still looking mad scary, even on a map where she's not exactly favored.
Yeah, Diamonds, they were just they were trying to take that fight around the corner on that staircase, and only half of the players on that team could actually see what was going on there, and my goodness, what an exchange of ultimates.
What is going on?
Right now.
Where even is Bob? I am not sure. But anyway, Slice it. Okay, Bob is on the high ground above, overlooking the point as it stands. But Maple gets booped off the map potentially. Is going to eventually fall, and Jet is there to clean up the pick onto Spring as well. So at least for now, Subsun's momentum has been stymied. But I mean, that was a 2-minute push, and you've already nearly gotten to the end of the point, Shadow.
This next fight, I think, is going to be very, very important, though. Diamonds needs to make sure that wherever they are slamming with their ball, that the hit scan behind them can actually see the people that they're slamming onto. Because really, look at where MO4 is, right? Look at where Jet's slamming. You can't see the slam targets, so you're not going to have the follow-up damage. You got to make sure. That is a very key thing when you're running that.
Oh my god. And look at all the damage that MO4 was just taking because Ruby peeks around a corner for just a second. This is the difference between the Emery and the Ashe. Ashe's fall off is so significant in modern Overwatch, and Emery just does not have to worry about such a concept. Less than 2 minutes remaining on the clock now, but Patico and Ruby both going down means that this is not exactly favored for them. But Spring, using that Kitsune Rush, will allow for his teammates to get rid of that Wrecking Ball. So the point presence no longer really there. Though it will get back pretty quickly, and Jet does have the minefield to potentially stop this push from going any further than it has to.
Yeah, we shall see. The dynamite goes off,
Patico
and Jamin follows up with the damage onto Patico, and that's both supports going down for Subsun already.
Holy. Good shots from Ruby, but it might be a little bit too late in this fight specifically. Losing out on your support line really sucks in this particular instance. Only a minute now remaining on the clock. You know exactly where Maple is on this Reaper. Pepper forced to use the recall here, but that cart's moving less than a meter now away from the checkpoint, and it very well could have gotten there. but the contest rolls through just in time. Massive usage of that Rampage coming out from M21. That's a couple picks for sure. Minefield on the point isn't going to be able to slow them down. Ruby with a beautiful series of shots onto several players, and Subsun do in fact manage to get over the line and move on to the third point.
And again, it really feels like Diamonds just can't coordinate their dives quite effectively enough. They'll do it occasionally, but they just aren't consistent with it right now. And Subsun, we see it time and time again. They are consistently moving around the map as like a unit, right? Even if Maple is pushing cart, Maple can just teleport to where everybody is at a moment's notice. It's not a big deal. And so we're seeing a team push from one side from Subsun, and Diamonds just cannot match that so far.
What an excellent bio-nade just then from Jamin to connect onto Ruby, allowing Pepper to go in and get that kill. But even so, with that opening pick, it may not be enough, but I mean, it's a 3-for-3 trade right now. Only a couple players alive on each squad as it stands, and eventually Diamonds are going to have the favorable picks here. The problem is you've given up 60 meters of the point before even one fight takes place on third point. Only a minute remaining, but Subsun, they're in a pretty decent position to potentially finish this map, especially with the Override Protocol and the Kitsune Rush.
Yeah, Override, Kitsune Rush. The other side has Bob and a Pulse Bomb online. Bob could potentially do something. That was not a bit. I just said that. MO4 has already taken one out, and Bob has followed up with a kill as well.
Yeah, but it's a 2-for-2 trade, and you are hurting if you do not have your Kiriko right now as Diamonds. This defense potentially falling apart here, but with Pepper finding a pick onto Spring, that is so huge. The delay onto that pick is massive, and M21 could potentially get brutally staggered here. And that could just put Subsun in a very bad spot. 87% to that Rampage. You really don't want to swap off of this Junker Queen, but you may have to if you want to consistently recontest. No, it looks like M21 is going to be sticking it out. That just means that it's going to be up to Patico, Maple, Ruby, anybody to touch this cart and start the overtime wick burning.
Yeah, we're in a tough spot here. Override Protocol going to come out from Ruby to start this fight off. I mean, look at those water balls coming in from Jamin, though, on that Wuyong.
Big damage. Yeah, huge damage coming in from the Wuyong here. But Jet going to fall down here. This gives Subsun a huge opportunity to potentially move this card forward with Ruby. Also finding a second pick on the Pepper. A third on Ruthless. A fourth on Jamin. This Emery is too good. The cart's moving forward. There's still a chance for Diamonds to get out here and recontest, but do they have the tools necessary to hold on to this one for very long? They're not even close to a minefield. They're getting closer and closer to support ultimates, but are they going to be able to utilize them in time or even charge them in time? It doesn't seem like it because the Rampage comes out and closes the door on a potential hold. It is a full capture for Subsun in overtime, but what a ridiculously close third point.
I mean, that's tough, honestly, right? It feels like, again, from watching it, it feels like Diamonds just kind of sat back and waited for Subsun to try and attack them instead of being aggressive with the ultimates that they had, because they did have the minefield and the pulse bomb going into that last fight, so you would think they would like try and get a little aggressive and just try and get an early kill to really make sure they can confirm that map. And they did try and push Ruby a little bit, but Ruby was just killing them one by one. So it wasn't enough of that coordination that I keep talking about, right? Diamonds will have fights where they have this wonderful coordination and you just see the dives go off very fluidly. And then the next fight, it'll just be all out of whack and you'll see people living on like 10 HP. And that is really the difference between winning and losing fights, especially in open tier.
Now, one thing I am a little bit interested in this side swap is that Ruby has gone from the Emery that was putting in ridiculous amounts of work, particularly in that final fight, over to the Sojourn. Now, this is not entirely unexpected. We've seen Ruby's prowess on, I mean, a multitude of DPS heroes over the years, but I mean, going to the Sojourn after doing so well on the initial push with the initial push with Emery is a little bit surprising here. An interesting strategy as we airlift the Bastion onto the high ground. and try and force Subsun back on this defense, which they do successfully manage. The problem now becomes you don't have the turret form to work with anymore, so the cat is going to have to airlift you away once again. Ruby falls very low on this Sojourn, but not quite going to be punished. Falls very low. The grenade goes into where they last were, but still not quite enough. Ball out here, just trying to do whatever he can to take out a couple of these players. Patico and Maple both falling very low, but eventually Pepper is going to be the first casualty of this fight. But despite all of that, this cart has been moving a very solid distance. 54 meters is really not bad, all things considered, for a losing first fight.
Yeah, you did get a good way through there. But, I mean, literally from the Bastion's perspective, right? We were watching Pepper's perspective that entire time. You could see exactly what I was talking about, right? When did the Bastion show up? The slam already happened, right? That's when the Bastion showed up around the corner. The Bastion needed to already be around the corner as, like, ball was spinning to slam, right? And that's when you have the ability to follow up on that damage. So, like, it's very key. Big kill from Jamin, honestly, on the Lucio.
I mean, yeah, gorgeous, really. Managing to find that one is absolutely crucial. The problem now becomes, how do you follow up on that one? Maple going to be answering back in kind with a Death Blossom pick onto Mo4's Tracer, but not going to be able to find anything else with that Death Blossom. Probably only using that to seal up the fate of the Tracer. And now, a very, very scrappy fight on the point here, but with Jamin finding another pick onto Patico's Lucio. Maple just hiding in the corner here, hoping to maybe get a little bit more sustain, but Pepper on this Bastion, not long for this world. Shirley falls down to 50 health, but the support is there for the Bastion. The cart continues to move forward little by little, but, I mean, surely this strategy won't work out for super long. The turret goes up and behind the point, but has to cancel out of it when nothing comes of it, when nothing's in the direct line of sight. So the strategy of just taking this Bastion everywhere, it's working at moments. But it really, I think it's the rest of the team that's making this work, because they do get the first point. But, I mean, how long is this Jetpack Cat Bastion thing going to be working for them?
As long as Jamin can continue to give final blows.
What is happening?
That's what I'm looking at right now, right? This cat's trying to deadlift. That's what I'm seeing right now, right?
Evidently.
No. In all seriousness, though, I really do think it all comes down to the dive coordination, right? You can do all the Bastion shenanigan nonsense that you want to, right? But it'll work as long as you are timing with Jet properly. And that's really all you have to worry about, right? Like, look right there. Jet is all the way on the other side of this bridge, and the rest of the team hasn't even rounded the corner yet. Like,
nope.
That can't be happening.
Not quite, and eventually the rush comes through. M21 running down Pepper, and that Bastion no longer going to be a factor in this particular fight. M21 still finding picks, playing a very aggressive Junker Queen. Another one onto Mo4. Yeah, this Queen is just putting in stupid amounts of work right now. And crucially, I don't think the cart has gotten all that far at all this time around. I mean, previously, one fight loss and they got 60 meters on the first point, but now only at 44, not even halfway through this point. Out goes the Bastional, trying to punish this Junker Queen, and they will manage to do so. Jet finding the final blow onto M21, and another onto Spring. That should get them some distance.
Maple is going to pop that Death Blossom and does take down Pepper in the process, but Maple immediately falling right after that. And, you know, again, I love the fact that they expended like 4 ultimates, or they expended like 2 or 3 ultimates in an attempt to kill M21X. Like, that's so funny, because it's just like, yeah, once the Queen's down, we can kind of just do whatever we want at that point. It doesn't take near the same level of coordination. And here they are coming back onto the point. A lot of ultimates going to be going off for both teams in this fight.
Indeed, they will. And it's going to be started off by Spring using that Kitsune Rush. The Pulse Bomb goes out, connects onto Ruby, but Ruby manages to take out Mo4 with a railgun shot just before the explosion of the Pulse Bomb. So it's a very, very scrappy fight here, but eventually it should be the Diamonds coming out on top of it, especially with that pick on the Maple coming in so much later. They're going to be pushing this cart forward. The question is, are they going to be able to capitalize off of this one and get the capture onto second? M21X still alive in this side room, but potentially punished for their hubris. Ruthless pops the lane and immediately dies, though. Oh, that is disastrous for the side of Diamonds. They're down to 1 minute and 12. and now they're down potentially their most important ultimate.
Yeah, not having your Kitsune Rush is really tragic, but plus side, with the point that we are on the map right now, you now have the AC-130 option, right? Because Bastion now shoots these gigantic grenades when he's in his turret form, right? So now I think this becomes a lot more viable. Ruby does pop the overclock, but just has to run away because that Bastion is just going to do that, right? That's an obscene amount of damage that's just bursting onto people.
Yeah, ridiculous amount, but eventually the turret form has to end, and so does Pepper's lifespan. 36 seconds now remaining, and you've lost out on the Wrecking Ball too. This has to be a full reset from Diamonds. If you can get out as Jamin, you absolutely have to. And it does look like they managed to escape. The Jetpack Cat still alive, still kicking, and 20 seconds remaining. This is going to be final fight territory for Diamonds on their attack. And out goes Pepper's ultimate. Potentially looking for one of the players inside of this small room. Could find Spring, but Spring manages to get out and stay alive for a very, very long time amidst all of that damage. Ruby has to fall back. Falls very low, but Pepper eventually finding the pick on Apatico could potentially spell they capture for them here, but it's not over quite yet. Out goes the catnap from Jamin. And it will help them get the pick onto Spring. But with Jet down, with their Wrecking Ball down, do they have the point presence they need to continue to push this forward? It looks like they do. A Pulse Bomb placed on the ground near M21X is going to be enough to take out the Junker Queen. And now 90 seconds separate Diamonds from potentially losing this map or taking us to overtime.
I gotta say, that's just like a funny exchange because that pulse bomb was like not near hitting. M21 just kind of flew by it. And it just so happened to blow up at the exact moment that M21 was flying by. This is an unfortunate thing that has happened to Pepper, but
that is tragic.
You know, we're gonna just get a team reset here going to this next fight. Maple gonna have the Death Blossom online, double support ults available for Subsun as well. And Subsun getting very aggressive here, not wanting to give really any space whatsoever off to the side of the Diamonds.
Pepper, by the way, having swapped over to the Genji at this stage of the game. No more Bastion, no more AC-130 above. It's going to come down to whether this Genji can find picks, and that's a great one to start with. Patico out of the equation so fast in this fight. Spring, M21X also going down. 30 seconds remaining in the fight now for Diamonds to push this one, and that is a great start to a potential capture here on third point.
Yeah, this is going to be the crazy fight though, right? Maple having the Death Blossom in overtime is going to be tough, and immediately taking down Ruby is a good way to start off, but you still have to deal with a Kitsune Reaper regardless of what happens with these staggers.
Indeed. It is a great early pick, and the slam is huge, but the beat is going to be successful. So is the Kitsune, and so is the Blossom Jamin out of the equation now. No more Jetpack Cat. The sustain is going to be so much less now that there is only a Kiriko on the field, and it clearly won't be enough. MO4, the last hope for Diamonds, will also be taken down, and Subsun will hold on Dorado, putting themselves on match point.
I mean, the cat shenanigans were incredibly fun, but I have to just point out, the thing that really won Subsun that last fight was the fact that they had sound barrier. Like, more than anything else that happened in that last fight, it was really the sound barrier. Just having that extra sustain available to you in that fight, being able to be a little bit reckless because you have so much extra health, that was really the difference in that last fight. Your Reaper could just kind of stand on point because it's like, hey, I got a sound barrier, you know what I'm saying? I'm not going to die when I hit my Q. So, yeah.
Pepper had 41 elims. 41 elims on Dorado, only to lose the map. That is such a tragic way to end Dorado if you're a fan of the Diamonds. They only have one lifeline left here, and I mean, it's as I was saying earlier, there are still plenty of maps that you can take Subsun to where the Junker Queen is not nearly as effective. Like, I fully expect something like an Numbani of things. Straight up. Like, absolutely. We are probably going to a map like Numbani where high ground is prevalent and where Junker Queen's effectiveness is mitigated. The problem is, even if you win that map and you go to map 5, there's still something like Aruna Sapi, or if you don't pick a hybrid, a King's Row available for Subsun to just run you over with.
You know, it's funny. I would. This is where my mind immediately goes. I would pick King's Row and ban Queen, and we're just gonna both run down mid
I
at
can
each
see
other.
it.
But we haven't seen the Diamonds really opt towards any sort of brawl comp, which is
No.
odd to me because those comps are so much easier to play than the dive comps are. Right? We were seeing it, like I said, time and time again. We were seeing it where those dives, if they don't match up perfectly, you are probably going to lose the fight to the brawl comp.
What are
And
we
it looks like-
doing?
Looks like we are going to be going to New Queen Street and potentially banning Junker Queen. That might
This
be
has
the
to
thing
be a
that
queen
happens
ban.
tonight.
It has to be a queen ban. Surely, this has to be a queen ban, right? I mean, there's no reason to take them to New Queen Street, which, again, a map that Queen is very good on if you're not going to ban out the queen. Because, I mean, at this point, there's no point in saving a queen ban for the 5th map because you know Subsun's probably just going to ban out a tank and protect the queen from being banned. So surely Diamonds, they have the awareness, they have the brain capacity to know that this is their last chance to ban the queen, and they do in fact take their last chance.
Yeah, I mean, if it wasn't going to be this map, what map would it have been? That's the real question. It wouldn't have. That's the answer to that question. So there wasn't actually a question. There was only an answer.
There was only an answer.
And now there is a question here, and it's what will Subsun follow up and ban? And I don't know. Do you ban the cat? Are you irritated enough with the cat to ban it?
Are you? I don't know. I don't think
know.
I don't think it's going to be enough of a problem on New Queen Street that you want to get rid of it. I think that I don't know. I kind of expect a support ban here, but I'm not sure it's going to be the cat.
It's like you probably don't ban Kiriko.
Surely not.
You already banned Lucio.
I
don't know. I feel like you're left with banning Cat or a DPS. But what DPS? Genji, maybe? Is that what they do? Do they ban Genji? They ban
Tracer.
That's fascinating to me. Okay.
They banned
I think,
Ruby's Tracer.
Yeah, that's very fast. I wouldn't have ever guessed that, honestly, just because Ruby is so solid at the Tracer. But maybe they just want to force more of that hit scan duel.
This kind of just tells me that Ruby's going to be running back out on that hit scan, right? I mean, obviously Ruby is very good at the Tracer, but do you remember back in Overwatch League Season 1 when there was the experiment that a lot of teams were doing where they had their hit scan player who also played Tracer? Like the Sabiolbis and the Lynxers, for example, right? That's kind of the slot that I see Ruby fitting into in this team, which not a lot of teams are doing that at any level of play at this point. Because as it turns out, it's just better to have your hit scan player be the hit scan player and have your flex cover that Tracer. But this does just kind of tell me that they are fully committing to the Ruby Emery or the Ruby Sojourn potentially.
I don't know. They did some weird things in Season 1 Overwatch League. I don't know if you remember this part, but the flex support player also played Roadhog. So
I remember.
So that was what happened in Season 1
MA.
Overwatch League. They did some weird things back in the day. So that's...
Do you remember the Stage 4 meta that was like Junkrat Widowmaker? That was weird.
Yeah, we didn't understand the game at that time. It was only a 2-year-old game back then. It's a 10-year-old game now, so Side note also, Jamin coming back out, Penguin Gamer coming back in, leads me to believe we're going to see some more of that Lucio being played now. Because it seems like Jamin is probably capable of playing the Lucio, but isn't a Lucio player. There's a real difference between the two. And it shows up really heavy when it comes to just ult charge. There'll be like a 5% difference in ult charge, and that can be the difference between winning and losing a fight.
Absolutely, it can be. New Queen Street, the potential final battleground of our series tonight here, Shadowfang. And it's kind of strange. This is a map that we don't get to see all that often, and yet both of the series on stream today have gone to New Queen Street. We have not seen the Colosseo. We have not seen the Runasapi. Instead, the much rarer New Queen Street has made an appearance several times.
Yeah, I mean,
Is
that's
this... I was going to ask, is this like a shifting of the tides? Are people finally waking up to the fact that this is a good map?
Could be, because I mean, I casted it last night as well in the match I did with Phil. They picked New Queen Street as well. And the team that played Wrecking Ball really dominated the New Queen
No
Street.
Emery.
Yeah, that is interesting. No Emery for either side. You know, it looks like Ruby has opted to play Tracer with extra steps, as I call Soldier 76. It's just Tracer from distance, essentially, and no teleporting.
Yeah, an interesting decision from both of these players to be going the Soldier. I mean, I would much rather see both of these players rock out on the Emery, but MO4 perhaps just the flex player, more comfortable in the on the Soldier than anything else in this particular instance. I think that it is interesting that we see a double hit scan lineup coming out of Diamonds here. And so far, it's not working out particularly well for them. Maple did a really good job of running Pepper down on that Sojourn. And yeah, Pepper's going over to the Genji here. So fascinatingly enough, Subsun, they've got the early distance here. But I am very curious to see what this Genji swap can do.
Yeah, that is a lot of push that is already coming through onto the bot. Really nice. Coordinated dodge right here from the side of Diamonds. And like I said, we were seeing that occasionally on Dorado, and when they do it, it looks really good. But they just have to they just have to do that more consistently.
Quick shout out, by the way, to Ruby's choice of skin on Soldier 76. We love Street Fighter in this house. Shout out Street Fighter 6. Great game, great video game. But moving on here, great stagger onto M21X. Obviously, not having that Junker Queen available to them on this map. We do see Subsun rolling out on the Diva here. Not really a surprise. Losing out on your most comfortable hero means that, yeah, swapping to the best tank in the game right now does make a lot of sense here. Unfortunately, maybe not nearly as practiced on this one as Diva not there to peel for the Kiriko.
No, Spring going down very early there. Jet going to have the minefield. Pepper getting close on that blade as well. And, I mean, Jet taking down Ruby right now. But Maple said, hey, I'm going to just take the bot, right? We're going to lose the fight anyways. Bomb has taken down MO4. That happened, apparently. And Jet has killed Maple in that same process.
All right, and the sound barrier also expended by Penguin Gamer. Ruthless falls very low despite the extra health. M21X doing everything in his power right now to try and turn the fight in the favor of Subsun, but Pepper finding a pick onto Patico at 95% to the sound barrier is so massive for the side of the Diamonds. And the mech goes down. Ruby is killed as the tactical visor is popped. This should just be a distance lead gained for Diamonds now, potentially even the checkpoint.
Ooh, we definitely need to make sure we've got somebody sitting on that bot, because you most certainly want to get the checkpoint. You have everything but sound barrier available to you. You can force a lot. You can force Subsun to use both of these ultimates very quickly and still manage to win this fight outright if you're Diamonds.
Yep. Checkpoint is, in fact, going to be gained, but I mean, Diamond's not choosing to stay on the cart, at least not directly. MO4 pops the tactical visor, but is immediately chased down by the Diva. So much pressure on this Soldier, so he's not going to get a lot of value out of that ultimate. But in the meantime, both support ults are expended by Subsun. A couple picks roll through for them. And Diamonds, they have the forward spawns, and they'll be able to utilize them here. But, yeah, suboptimal fight from them for sure. But at very least, you did bait out the support ults.
Yeah, you got double support ults baited out of the other side, and you've got your forward spawns available to you. This next fight you're incredibly favored in, but Maple has been really good with those Blossoms, and Ruby has been taken out by Pepper, apparently.
Pepper also popping the blade here, finding Maple. M21 also low. Spring taken down by the blade to Patico. Potentially not long for this world either. Being chased down by the ball and the Genji. It's just the Diva left standing, being body blocked away from the escape. Will eventually get out, surely, but only 1 HP on that mech. Does manage to not get removed from it, though. The distance will be gained for Diamonds. The respawns are back in their favor. The minefield goes out, though, and that is potentially a fight winner for Diamonds, denying so much space. And the Kitsune Rush, they're getting so much distance out of this one, Shadow.
So much distance
Spring!
available to them indeed. Spring has gone down, and you've still got the sound barrier available to you if you're
Oh my
Diamonds,
God.
if you really need to continue pushing this.
And they're still moving. They're still moving. They get up to 85 meters in the midst of all of that. And this is just clinical so far from Diamonds. They are not allowing Subsun even an inch of room, even any amount of breathing room. But eventually, Ruby gives them an opening, finding a pick on the Penguin Gamer, but is quickly traded out by Ruthless, just giving him a swift kick in the face. 1-for-1 trade here. Penguin Gamer theoretically can get back a little bit faster, thanks to the forward spawns and the general mobility of Lucio, but eventually the reset comes through for Diamonds, and they are forced to back out a little bit. The fight continues, but the beat from Diamonds isn't very good. It only connects onto 2 players. Penguin and MO4 get it, but Jet does not and falls to the Deadeye as a result. So it looks like finally, at long last, Subsun, they've wrested back at least some level of control here.
They are getting the bot over to the other side of the map. And, I mean, coming into this next fight, Diamonds, they've got their tac visor, they've got the mines and that blade available to them, and they're very close on the Kitsune Rush as well. Fatico's beat is going to be very, very important to denying a lot of value from those ultimates in this fight.
Extremely important. And one of the other really annoying things about this composition that Diamonds are running is that they have so much stall on this point. They can just put people on the point and allow this to be stalled out for a very long time. Pepper utilizing that Dragon Blade. Once again, Patico goes down early, and Diva very likely the next victim here. But no! Can't get the kill onto the pilot in time, and the self-destruct is going to take Pepper out of the picture. Falls very low, though, does Diva. Loses out on the mech, and even though all of that work is being put in by this Diva, it simply won't be enough, surely, to get them over the line onto these forward spawns.
It does not seem to be going the way of Subsun right now.
Spring-
Spring has actually swapped over to the Mizuki. I'm
What?
assuming that is to trap
Why?
this Wrecking Ball, maybe. I don't think that's going to be enough healing, just generally speaking,
No.
though, because you've got 2 Lucio auras essentially going off right now.
Yeah, it's not a whole lot of sustain here for Subsun as it stands, and I mean, they're doing a decent job of stalling out the point so that it doesn't get taken immediately here, but the Reaper's gone instantly too. Maple not having an answer there, and that's just going to be forward spawns gained once again by Diamonds, and potentially even more distance on this barricade. They will start moving it forward once again, and a pick on the Spring means that they're just going to keep moving it for as long as they would like. Ruby taken down in the backline. Jet is simply everywhere on this Wrecking Ball. You cannot stop this Wrecking Ball. It has been so oppressive. This Reaper also goes down again. Maple having died like 3-4 times now without an opportunity to use that Death Blossom. Patico also falling below half health. No sound barrier to speak of, but manages to get away at least for the time being. Distance being gained on the barricade here, up to 116. This is going to have to be an absurd comeback in the last minute and a half if Subsun want to end the series here.
Yeah, I mean, you're in a good spot to start with at the very least. You've taken down Pepper, and you have a lot of ultimates available to you. And again, there's the chain coming out on the Jet, but Ball has like 1500 HP essentially, right? And oh my goodness, all the trades in the world have just happened, but it has eventually gone the way of Subsun.
Oh no, Subsun, 60 seconds remaining in the match, and potentially, I mean, they could have a way back into this. They have all 5 ultimates to work with here to varying levels of effectiveness, but they have to expend the Death Blossom as soon as this fight even begins. 1-for-1 trade onto the Lucios here, but not quite going to be enough here. The blade is popped by Pepper, looking for anything else that they can find, and they do find another one onto Maple. No final blows with that blade, but the damage is plentiful. The bot starts moving back towards Subsun spawn, and they didn't even get to reset forward spawns here.
No, they did not. Pepper's blade doing a lot of work there, and M21 forced to use that bomb. Does get Jet actually, but Pepper gets revenge for the last Diva Bomb and takes down that pilot in the process. You know, Spring here on this Mizuki just looking for some kind of damage or some elimination of some sort, and we're in overtime.
Surely it's not enough. Overtime has been triggered, but you need to win like 3-4 consecutive fights if you're Subsun to take this map away, and it's going to be significantly more difficult now that there are ultimates online for the Diamonds. Sound barrier goes out. It is a later and better beat than what Patico had to offer. The usage of that... I never remember the name of Mizuki's ultimate, but the usage of that one to deny the Soldier ultimate simply wasn't enough. Diamonds take away New Queen Street and send us all the way to a map number 5.
Well, I said it right before this map started that the series I watched last night that went 5 maps, the Wrecking Ball team dominated on New Queen Street, and that is what we saw happen on this map. I don't know what it is about this map that causes Wrecking Ball to perform so well, but, you know, apparently that's something I got to add to the list now, like in my memory banks, you know, just be like, okay, anytime I see New Queen Street get picked, there's potential that this team wants to run some Wrecking Ball.
Quite possible, for sure. Diamonds, obviously, though, having a lot of comfortability on that hero throughout the series, winning the first map while playing primarily that Wrecking Ball. But now that we are going to a 5th map, you have to wonder, do they have enough gas left in the tank? Do they have the tools necessary post-Subsun map pick, post-Subsun hero ban to take this one in an upset and beat Subsun for the first time this season? We'll find out after this very short break. Map 5 up next.
You say you wanna try, but you never do. Sugar, there's a reason why we lose.
Long ago, an evil witch placed a curse on me, Gedster, to never be able to cast a map 5 again. But fortunately for me, the curse is now apparently broken. Welcome back, everybody, to this match between Subsun and Diamonds here in the NA Open Playoffs bracket. I am Gedster. Joining me is my good friend Shadowfang 2. And we're going to map 5. I used to pray for times like these. We're finally going to map 5. I'm so happy.
Yeah, we've had ourselves quite the series tonight, honestly. You know, it's very similar to the series I casted last night, where both teams, I described it last night in this exact same manner. It's like the 2016 Warriors Cavs series, where both teams just blew each other out until Game 7. So is that going to be the case here tonight, where both these teams just beat each other senseless in the first 4 maps, and map 5 is our first truly just back and forth, just competitive map? I'm really hoping that that's the case. Dorado was fairly competitive too, though, I can't lie, but you see the score lines on the rest of these maps, it's been fairly one-sided, I would say, for the most part, when these teams have won so far. But Kings Row, we're finishing the night off on Kings Row. I mean, I can't think of a better way to do it.
We end the series where it all began. Kings Row, the classic, the original, the map that has received minimal changes since day 1 of Overwatch's release, is where we return for our final map of the night. And I mean, unfortunately, unlike the 2016 NBA finals, I believe that was the finals. I don't know basketball like that, so I could just be lying right now. Maybe it was like a semifinal or something. I don't know. But unlike that one, I don't know that this is going to be a particularly back and forth affair, because we have a problem right now if we're Diamonds. This is not only Subsun's map pick, they get the first hero ban. And I am almost certain that one particular character is going to be taken off the board here. There's no way you want to let the Junker Queen go. And even, I mean, the ban's already been taken away for Diamonds anyway, but you may as well just ban the Wrecking Ball, right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you know, why not? It's like, hey, let's get them off of this character. Right, we've only seen them play Wrecking Ball and a little bit of Hazard. Hazard was pretty decent on, what was that, New Junk City?
Indeed.
It was pretty decent for sure, but it's one of those situations where it's like, show me, right? Show me you can do this. I need to see it with my own eyes before I believe it, you know what I mean? It's like, it's just that situation, you know? Get rid of the thing you're comfortable on, and now if you're Diamonds, though, this is where the pick gets interesting, because it's, yeah, okay, I'm cool with that. I like the Emre pick. That really did feel like that was a lot of what was hampering that Hazard gameplay, was just the Emre, the Tracer, the Reaper. There was a lot of just various sources of damage that were just taking down that Hazard consistently.
Yeah, I mean, Emre is, as I've been saying this whole time, Thanos. As I brought up earlier today on the first broadcast of the day, I am genuinely shocked that Emre avoided getting any significant nerfs to, I don't know, his damage, because this character's broken. Let's be real for a moment here. Hidden is going to be coming in for Subsun in our final map of the night here. I believe the first time that Subsun has even made any adjustments to their roster, if I am not mistaken, but this is it. This is it. They are placing their faith in Hidden for our final map of the night, Kings Row.
Yeah, this is the 5th map savior, right? Hidden only comes in on map 5s. That's the only time Hidden plays, right? It's like Super with the Shock back in the day, right? They would only put Super in on map 5. That's the only time he came in. But to start with, Diamonds is showing us a Reinhardt-based composition. Okay, it looks like it's going to go the Zarya route now. Subsun is on defense, so I do actually believe the composition that I'm seeing from them. Ruby on that Widowmaker. We've seen Ruby make tons of plays on the Widowmaker. And Hidden, it looks like, is going to be going for this Iari. So we're going for like a poke style with the Queen and the Reaper being like frontline damage.
I kind of dig it. I kind of dig this for sure. Ruby! This is what I wanted to see. This is exactly what I was looking for. I love me some Widowmaker gameplay. We rarely get to see it in the year 2026, but here we are. New York Excelsior skin equipped, channeling his inner Pine now is Ruby, looking for anything else. An early shot into MO4 is big, but I mean, you need more consistent shots like that if you want this Widowmaker pick to really matter in the end.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Looks like the side of Diamonds is actually going to be able to cross this space very well, not losing anybody.
Oh my god.
Yet. There it is. It has happened. Once we were already all the way in, we lost our Kiriko.
Uh-oh. But they're running down this Widowmaker. They are sending the entire U.S. Navy after this one blue-skinned sniper. And, I mean, it doesn't seem to be working quite yet. They're still losing out on numbers. M21 able to take MO4 out entirely. And Ruby manages to escape with his life, now on 82% towards that not tactical visor, infrasight, excuse me.
You know, it could be called tactical visor. You know,
it kind of is.
You know, it is. It's like a visor you throw on to see people, and it gives you good. Yeah, I can see the vision with the name at least. You know what I mean?
Well, they do eventually end up finding and hunting down Ruby in the back line, but M21X is able to get the pick onto that Lucio in return. So 1 for 1 now, 2 minutes and 20 seconds remaining on the clock. A little bit of progress being made for Diamonds. No tick quite yet, but it looks like Subsun are willing to give one up. Infrasight goes out and not quite gonna land the shot onto Jet's Zarya, but it's looking closer. Eventually the headshot connects and down goes that Zarya. MO4 finding the trade onto the Widowmaker, but the fight is essentially over. They do have a pretty good idea as well of where MO4 is, but I mean, do they really want to expend too many resources into taking care of this Sojourn? Oh, they do. Oh, they definitely do.
I mean, it don't take that many resources. When you're standing that close to a door, it ain't really too tough to deal with that. And Pepper has immediately fallen down as well. This is just going incredibly poorly for Diamonds right now. They cannot get any sort of ground going right now on this point.
I mean, the slight bright side for them is the fact that they get a little bit more progress on that second tick to make the capture slightly harder in case this is where they get held. And as it stands, it's looking more and more likely that this is where they're going to get held. 1 minute and 9 seconds remaining now for Diamonds to find a way into this fight. But Subsun, they have the Kitsune Rush. They're going to run down Jet on this Zarya. Still not quite there to that Graviton Surge. But on the the best case scenario here is that Diamonds can take an overtime fight or a fight with about 30 seconds left with 5 ultimates.
Yeah, this is not looking too good for Diamonds right now. They're going to have to get an early kill onto somebody, but Maple's been so good with these Death Blossoms. That's where my concern lies right now, because you got the Death Blossom, the Rampage, and that Captive Sun available for Subsun. And they've been so good with particularly the Death Blossom and Rampages.
Oh, absolutely. They know exactly where Ruby is on this Widowmaker, spamming down just to try and pressure out that sniper, but it's not enough quite yet. Sound barrier goes out from Diamonds. They aren't pushing onto the point directly, but there is the usage of the overclock as well, but hidden with the Captive Sun may have just closed this door completely for the side of Diamonds. Down goes everyone else. 56.1% is all Subsun needs to take away this series.
That's one Widowmaker kill. That's it.
That is literally one Widow kill.
Yeah, that's it. We're one Widow kill from this going the way of Subsun. That's literally it right now.
Ruby,
that's an
please.
insane thought. That's an insane thought to have, by the way. But that's immediately where my mind went. I'm like, if Ruby just pops out and gets an opening kill before the fight actually occurs, that's basically it. Because Subsun is just gonna walk onto the point with a Reaper and a what's it called?
Junker
a Reaper
Queen.
and a Junker Queen.
This is so close to being over. And you have to imagine that Subsun is able to find that one pick. Ruby, known for the Widowmaker. I mean, it's in the opening cinematic. We've seen what Ruby can do on this hero. This isn't Junkertown, but I mean, we've seen ridiculous shots coming out from this player on this hero, on this map alone. The Diamonds, one slip up away from dropping the series after they came so close, after they made more progress in this one series than they had made in either of the two that came before it. 56% is all that Subsun needs. All that Ruby needs is one pick. But will he be provided the opportunity? Jet on this Sigma, holding the angle just to try and make this as difficult as possible. But the problem now for Diamonds becomes, what if Subsun just walks onto the point? You're forced to drop directly into the waiting arms of a Reaper and a Junker Queen. Pepper on this Tracer from down below is going to be so important for Diamonds. Needs to stay alive for as long as possible. Point pressure is here, but you cannot allow a tick to be taken. Ruby finds the opener onto Pepper. A shot directly to the dome. She does what she could not do in the Vengeance cinematic. And MO4 finding a trade, but it may be too late. It is, in fact, far too late. Subsun, they get the pick they need. They walk onto the point, and there is simply no answer from the Diamonds.
I mean, Maple doing essentially what Maple did on Dorado, right? Just being the point jockey on this Reaper. And Reaper is so threatening to try and walk into that you can't do it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, we're seeing it right here, right? You feel like you're at enough range on the Sojourn, in specifically that clip right there, where you have the range to potentially get the kill on the Reaper. But Reaper's range is a lot more than you actually think it is. Especially with those dire triggers just being an ability now, you can really do a lot of damage from distance still with Reaper. And Maple was just showing us throughout the entire series why that was the very first ban that Diamonds tried to get out.
Oh yeah, most certainly. And despite a very, very one-sided King's Road to end the series, what a match we had here tonight. Dorado was super close. New Queen Street at times felt super close. New Junk City started in favor of the Diamonds, but Subsun able to claw their way back into that map and take it away, putting them in a position where they can take us to King's Row on map 5, get rid of the Wrecking Ball, and take the series away, moving them forward in the winner's bracket here in our Season 17 playoffs. Phenomenal play all night from Subsun.
Yeah, and again, phenomenal play from Diamonds as well. Here's our bans that we had throughout the series. Like I said, that map 1 Reaper ban, it showed to be incredibly pivotal because Maple was just consistent on the Reaper is the word I want to use, right? Because we weren't seeing crazy like multi-kills from Maple all the time. We were just seeing consistent, solid play. Like Maple knew exactly what they needed to do on that Reaper every single fight, and it was just consistently applying that point pressure, honestly, so that you allowed your Queen to just kind of play a little bit more forward, and you could just catch up with them later with the teleport.
Yeah. We are going to go to another quick break, but when we come back, we have an interview with several members, hopefully, of Subsun, our winning team tonight, to just pick their brains a little bit, because I really want to pick their brains about this series. I've never been more excited for a player interview at the end of a CGL match in my life, so please stay tuned. We're not done quite yet. we back, everybody. It's time for the interview. We got Maple, we got Broken from Subsun, the winning team tonight. How are you fellas feeling right about now?
I'm feeling pretty good. It was a nice match. You going to reckon?
I mean, I'm feeling pretty good too. I mean, I think the team played great. I think that last map especially was something great.
Very dominant.
Yeah, that KR was pretty phenomenal here, but I mean, even in the maps where you didn't take away the W's, you still looked extremely competitive here. So walk me through that real quick, because obviously you guys are no strangers to Diamond, having played them twice already this season alone, winning both of those series by a score of 3-1. So were you expecting this one to go all the way to 5?
No. We thought we were gonna 3-0 or 3-1. And honestly, we probably would have 3-0'd if my team didn't decide to break my frames for the first map and make me play on 60. That was a fun time, and they banned my Reaper. I had a great time on first map. It was fun.
Hey, sometimes your teammates got to do a little bit of trolling. I get it.
Who needs enemies when I have teammates like this?
I didn't do anything.
Well, my question is actually going to revolve around New Queen Street. So what was the thought process behind pulling out the Mizuki with Lucio? I'm just curious, because I didn't quite understand it.
Neither did we. The Mizuki, mainly just a counter ball. My Kira was struggling a bit, so, just switched to it. The Lucio, I feel like the Lucio is just working in general. We need speed a lot of the time. We're too used to having speed. Yeah, there wasn't much thought behind it other than I'm dying to ball, I need to switch Mizuki.
Alright, fair enough. I mean, that was kind of what I thought when I saw it. I just had to, I guess, check with you. And then with y'all winning this match, you are going to go on to play, I believe it was Iliad Artemis.
It is.
It is.
Yes. So what are your thoughts going into that next series?
It's it's a scary game. Definitely the people favored to win the entire tournament. Being a face at Master Team and all, but I mean, I'm hoping to win. I think we have a good chance. We haven't had our full roster against them the one time we played them.
Interesting.
We had a player who hadn't played in 3 months at the time, so we'll see. And even if we lose, we go to losers bracket and we can make the run back to fight them in grand finals.
Very true, very true. That's the beauty of a double elimination bracket. We do love to be seeing those around these parts. Now, my last question before we move on to the shout-outs portion of this one is kind of revolving around that King's Row. Obviously, I mean, it kind of felt like the writing was on the wall. Like, when a team that likes Junker Queen as much as you guys do has the option of the last map and it's hybrid, you're not going to pick Nimbani. You're going to pick King's Row. So, now, the question I had about that map actually comes down to the roster. Obviously, you guys made a swap in the support line, which I believe was the only roster move you made during the entire series.
Yes.
So, walk me through that one. Why bring in that one change in the final map of the series?
Well, double flex support feels really good at times, especially when we can just hold. Defense being, super hold this spot and don't really move, because we don't need the speed as much and anything like that. But also, we need a mental refresh after that map.
Can I also comment on something?
Go ahead.
I think the double flex is also really good into a non-dive tank, which diamonds play a lot of ball. So I think both of our flex supports can really just sit behind with our Widow, and if anybody tries to dive them, just peel. And M21 just plays frontline with Maple. So I think that's really what won us the game.
Yep.
Entirely fair. Good answer, fellas. Now, last question before we send you off for the night. Any shout outs you'd like to give to the people out there?
Shout out to Ruby and to
True.
Broken for breaking my frames on first map. And shout out to Ruby for the Widow on King's Row. It was very good. Completely, they won us the game. Stopped like 3 fights before they even started, wasting like 2.5 minutes.
Can I say shout out real quick?
Yes, go ahead.
I like to shout out Pataco, our Lucio player. I love
Thanks.
that guy to death. He's the best Lucio player I've ever seen. So I mean, I appreciate him for showing up. And M21, I love M21.
Yeah.
Thanks. We love to see a good bit of team camaraderie here in CGL, but your job's not done yet. You move on in the winner's side of bracket, but you still got a few more matches to play. So we'll let you go tonight so you can celebrate, but we look forward to seeing you moving forward here in the playoffs.
Thank you.
And just like that, our broadcast is essentially done for the evening. It's been a very long one. Well, not even, actually. It's been a very short Map 5 series in comparison to some of the other ones we've seen. But Diamonds now have a date with Vicious Unforgiven in the losers bracket, while Subsun move on to face off against Iliad Artemis, who they themselves have just said are the favorites to win out this entire bracket. I'm very excited to see how this particular bracket plays out.
Yeah, I think so too. Like, especially with Team Prosperous up there as well. Another very strong team with a lot of CGL, what is it? CGL faithfuls. I don't even know what else to call them. CGL veterans. We can call them that as well. That's a word, right? So
yeah,
this is going to be, I think, a fairly competitive tier, especially towards like the top end of the bracket.
Yeah. It's going to be a very fascinating one, and if the competitive nature of this match excited you, then that means you should probably stick around to see the rest of the bracket, huh? Hit that follow button right now. Make sure you come back for the remainder of the season, because we got a lot of brackets for playoffs. We got a lot of matches upcoming, and you're not going to want to miss any of them. So, for now, I've been Gedster. This has been Shadowfang. We're logging off for the night, and we'll see you next time.